Hello everyone, it's Robin the Delta Crafter, and I want to thank you for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. First of all, I want to apologize for my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm still recording my video. Have you ever had a bunch of die cuts left over from projects that you've been working on? I found that to be the case this fall and Halloween season as I was working on lots and lots of cards that you may have seen in my previous videos. So I had a lot of die cuts that were already inked and cut and just waiting for some sort of project to be used on. I usually keep a little dish to the right of me, and that's where my extra die cuts go. And so I pulled some of those die cuts out and kind of was looking at them and trying to figure out what could I do with these extra die cuts. So I decided to make a couple of cards. So we're going to take what was once forgotten and make something fabulous out of them. First, we got to start off by creating a background. Now, I do have a stash of backgrounds on the side too, but I didn't see any of them that I wanted to use and that I thought would look good with the die cuts that I already had. So I'm just taking a piece of black cardstock. I believe this is pitch black cardstock from Hero Arts. I'm going to add some splatter to the background, using some white gouache paint that I picked up at Michael's. I'm going to spray some water on that white gouache paint to kind of thin it out and pick some up with a paintbrush. Then I'm going to take another paintbrush and tap those two paintbrushes together to create some splatter. One of the reasons why I like to use gouache when I'm using black cardstock is because the gouache is a thicker paint and its color, the white, will stand up even as it dries. It will still continue to stand out. Some other acrylic paints or other, especially watercolor, will not be as bright white as the gouache will be. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like to use gouache for this technique on black cardstock. To help speed the process along, just hitting my background with my heat tool, and that's going to dry that paint a lot faster. As I was sorting around and looking around in my die cuts and my other things, I found two moons that I had created as well, so that they weren't in my dish, but they were already created in a part of my leftover stash. So I've decided I'm going to use the smallest moon and incorporate a lot of those bats in with the moon to make like a Halloween night sky kind of look. You may remember these bats. These came from my colorful bats video that I made a couple of weeks ago. I'll be sure to link that below, and I'll have it linked there if you haven't been able to catch that one. But I just kind of laid the bats out in a configuration that I wanted to go with. I decided to just stick with the orange bats. If you remember, I had pink and yellow bats from this when I made this card, but I decided to just stick with the orange ones for this card. So using some Artis liquid glue, I'm just going to adhere those bats to the background. I'm not even going to use any dimension on the bats. I know you guys are surprised, but I just wanted to make these quick and simple. So while I was making that bat card, I decided that I wanted to make a card with the leftover leaves as well, because my initial thought was that I was going to incorporate the bats and the leaves together. That didn't kind of look the way I wanted it to aesthetically, so I decided to make two separate cards. I've got my leaves laid out kind of how I want them to be laid out. I'm going to bring in a piece of press and seal paper and pick that layout up, flip it over, and add a little bit of that Artis glue dotted along all the leaves. And now I'm just going to take that press and seal, use it like a handle, and press those leaves onto my background. Now you guys know that I have been using this Autumn Messages stamp set from Hero Arts quite a bit this year. Another thing that I wanted to kind of make sure that you guys saw in my creations and my videos is that make sure that when you buy things, that you have lots and lots of uses and purposes for those items. This stamp set has gotten some mileage this season, and I'm using it here for the Happy Halloween, and I'm using it for Happy Autumn. Um, and I foresee this stamp set being one that I will go to every year. It just has some great messages in it that are very versatile. The fonts are great and timeless, and I think I like it a lot. So I stamped those messages with some Versamark embossing ink, and I'm going to spread or sprinkle some black embossing powder all over these messages to make sure that every part of the message, the greeting, is covered with that black embossing powder. Now I forgot to use my embossing powder tool, and you can see that I have a little bit of extra embossing powder sticking to the paper there, even though I've tapped it off several times. So I just bring in a paintbrush and lightly and quickly remove that excess powder that's remaining on my card where I don't want it to be, or on my sentiments where I don't want it to be. Then I'm going to hit that sentiment with my heat tool to melt that embossing powder, and that is going to complete creating those those messages, the greetings for our cards. I like to start on the back to melt the embossing powder a little bit and then switch to the front. So I'm bringing in my Tim Holtz mini trimmer, and I'm going to trim out these sentiments. These sentiments were made from a piece of scrap cardstock that I had, and that's just another reason why to kind of hold on to some of those pieces, because you can use them for sentiments. On the Happy Halloween, I decided to go ahead and make a little tail on it to kind of make that card stand out a little bit more from the leaves card. So that Happy Halloween sentiment is going to go across the bottom of the card, and then the Happy Autumn is going to go across the middle of our leaf collage. So here's where the dimension comes up, because I'm sure you didn't think I was going to skip the dimension altogether. No, no, no. I'm putting some dimension on the back of our sentiments, and I'm going to pop those up just a little bit from the rest of the card panel. So I place the Happy Halloween at the bottom of this card. And then I'm going to place, again, like I said previously, the Happy Autumn towards the middle of our card. Now this wasn't planned, but as I was turning the panel over to add some foam tape to the back of the panels, I realized that I had not secured the moon down. So I went ahead and popped up the moon a little bit with some foam tape as well. So that Happy Halloween card has just a little bit more dimension than the leaf cards. So foam tape is going on the back of the panels, and I'm going to add several strips of the foam tape to give them each some dimension. And then I'm going to secure them to some card bases. The card base is made from Accent Opaque 120-pound weight cardstock. And the card panels, like I mentioned earlier, are made from Hero Art's pitch black cardstock. So once I get this Halloween card down and in place, that completes both of these cards. Do you all have die cuts left over from your creations that you make? If so, what do you do with them? Let me know in the comments below if you have some other ideas of what to do with some leftover die cuts and creations. I want to thank you for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. As always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Delta Crafter, and on my website, thedeltacrafter.com. All the products I used today will be listed and linked below in the description box for ease of use. Until next time, everyone, enjoy!